Hello everybody. So welcome to one of my very first reading videos, what I read, September TBR. I feel like this video is going to be very all over the place because I have not filmed any sort of reading style video in a long time. It's actually funny, if you've been a subscriber of mine since 2013, 2014, I used to do reading book reviews. It was all on true crime. It wasn't I don't know, it wasn't anything like how I've seen on BookTube today, and I just never did them again. But I have been showing books on Instagram and what I've been reading, and I've also talked about books kind of here and there and Plan With Me's, as well as just recently in one of my past hauls. A lot of people have suggested that I make reading videos, so this is just me kind of testing the waters, seeing if this is something that you guys would enjoy. If not, I don't mind continuing to post about it on Instagram, and if so, I'd be happy to continue doing these. So I don't have a ton of time to read. I've binged over the past 2 months a ton of BookTube, and I feel like it's kind of let me down a little bit in the sense that I'm I can't read 40 to 50 books a month. That's just absurd for my lifestyle, but I want to. But when I do get the opportunity to read, I feel like I really indulge in books, and it's been like that since I was a kid. When I was a kid, I loved reading. It was my go-to for any situation. I would reread multiple books because I only owned a certain amount, and now as an adult I can spend all of my money on books if I really wanted to. But yeah, I feel like I've gone through kind of spurts in and out of reading in my adulthood, and I'm currently just really diving deep this past almost year, because my 2022 goal was to read more. I had started reading a little bit towards the end of 2021, so all of 2022 I wanted to pick up books more and be more into reading, and I feel like it's definitely worked out for me. So I feel like with all that being said, I do want to talk about the 4 books that I read in August. I'm really stoked about all of these. I think I'm gonna eventually get to the point where I'm not as lenient with 5 stars, but I have 2 5-stars, a 4-star that I probably could have given a 5-star, and then a 3-star, and I'm super stoked about that. And then I will also share with you some of my September TBR, which it's ever changing, I feel. The first book that I read in August is The Man Who Died Twice by Richard Osman. This is the second in the Thursday Murder Club series. I have the Thursday Murder Club back there, and the third one is actually coming out this month. It's on pre-order right now on Amazon, and I'm just gonna kind of wait a little bit because the pre-order price is a little high. This is a $10 book, but this was my 5-star. I really enjoyed the Thursday Murder Club series. The original series was based around 4 elderly people in essentially a nursing home in Europe somewhere, I want to say the UK, and they all come from very different backgrounds, but somehow their backgrounds all mesh. And on Thursdays they come together and they do a little murder club where they look through old files and they try to solve crimes, and it's very cute until one crime actually does happen close to home, and they end up getting kind of tied into it, as well as kind of connecting with the local police department and the detectives, and it becomes a whole thing. Very fun and interesting. This sort of follows along with that same premise. They are still kind of intertwined with the police department. They're friends now. More crimes are happening, more things around them are happening, and some of their pasts are coming back, and it's very fun and exciting. I gave this a 5-star because I truly do love all of these characters. I think they're so fun and entertaining. All of the older people, I love the detective. Yeah, there's just really not much else I can say about this book. Again, it's a 5-star. The Thursday Murder Club series is one of my favorites, and I'm really looking forward to the third one. The next book I read was also another 5-star. This is The House in the Cerulean Sea. This is by TJ Klune. This is a very fantasy series. This was so good. I actually could not put this down. This is one of the ones that I typically try to read at night, about 50 to 100 pages a night. This is one of the ones that I was picking up during the day. I was sitting with it at the dinner table. I was sitting with it on the couch while the kids were playing. I could not put this one down. It was so cute and wonderful, and it was totally a 5-star read for me. It's about Linus, who is a caseworker for the Department of Magical Youth. So he is in charge of going to all of these orphanages and seeing if they're fit for these magical creatures, and he's a human, and he either decides if they get closed down or if they can remain open. And he is called up to extremely upper management, and he is given a classified 4 kind of case with the house in the Cerulean Sea, and this is something that him nor none of the other caseworkers he knows about. So it's very secretive, and he goes there and he meets all of the kids that live there, as well as the like master of the orphanage, and he's met with like all the townspeople. And I'm not gonna spoil anything, but like each of these kids is so cute in their like own specific ways, especially Lucy. Just wait till y'all hear about Lucy. But I really loved this. I almost wish that this was a series, because I would have loved to hear about the other orphanages and all of the other magical sort of situations in this world. And this is a very good like found family trope, which I think is just one of my favorites. This was so sweet. Like, this book was so good. It was so cute. Another 5-star. I really did enjoy this one. Oh, you can tell I'm very new to booktube, because also in August I read A Court of Thorns and Roses by Sarah J Maas for the first time. So this has always been kind of on my TBR. What really got me to purchase these books is we went on vacation, and while on the plane I didn't see but not one, not two, but 3 people reading this book, and I was like, I should probably read this, you know what I'm saying? Because it's a huge popular book right now. I think I gave this 4 stars. I probably should have given it 5 stars. What's funny is when I was talking about wanting to read this, a lot of people were telling me, oh, like, just get through it, and like the second one's way better. And now I'm like, oh, because I really liked this one. Like, am I really gonna love the second one? Because this was really good. Basically, this is about, I'm not going to spoil anything. I'm just going to make sure I read the back before I like accidentally spoil the whole story, because that would be me. So yes, this is about a 19-year-old girl named Feyre. She lives on the human side of this wall that is dividing the human world and the Fey world. She is out hunting, taking care of her family. She kills a wolf who ends up being Fey. Basically, she is then thrown into this whole sort of situation where it's like Beauty and the Beast sort of Stockholm syndrome, where she is taken to the fairy world to pay for that crime, and she meets Tamlin and a bunch of other Fae, and very Stockholm syndrome. Like I said, she ends up really enjoying this world, and this book weirdly took a turn I was not expecting at all towards the end. And I feel like if you've read this book, you know what I'm talking about. I truly just thought she was gonna live like a happy life in the fairy world, but then a lot of other things start happening, which makes sense because it's a series. I really liked this a lot. I really liked the characters. I liked how the world was built. This is a very fantasy themed book. I really enjoyed this. I'm really excited to read the next one. Oh, this was just so good. This is another one that I got into very quickly. I read very quickly. I think this was the one I read the fastest, which is weird because it is the longest out of the 4 that I have here. Like all of these are like 300 some pages. This was like 416, so it's a little bit longer than all the other ones that I read, but I got through it really quick because I was very into this. So I am very much so looking forward to reading the second one and continuing this series. As you can tell, I'm mid a couple of series right now, but I'm very much into this. And then the last book that I read in August was Stephen King's Pet Sematary. I am a huge Stephen King fan. I have a little section down here that's like all Stephen King. And I wanted to read Pet Sematary. I've actually owned this one for a while. I personally hate this cover. I hate movie covers. I'm such like, I feel like that, maybe that doesn't make me a snob necessarily, but I feel like a snob for being like, I hate this cover. I just wish I had the classic like cat cover, you know? But I wanted to read this one because this is, according to Stephen King himself, his scariest book. And I have read quite a few Stephen King novels. The last one I read before this one was The Outsider. I read that last year. That was really good. I read that because I had watched the series and it was amazing. I've read It, which is huge. That book's like over 1,000 pages. It's nuts. At the beginning of this year, I read Salem's Lot, which I really enjoyed. I have read, I think that's all the ones I've read. I've also read Carrie, and to me, Carrie was the scariest because I read it when I was like 16. It was the first Stephen King book I'd ever read, and it very much so was not what I had expected. So I read this because he said this is his scariest book. There's like a blurb at the beginning explaining why he thinks this is his scariest, and it's mostly because some of it is based on like a true story. Obviously not all, but if you don't know what Pet Sematary is, not to spoil anything, but basically this family moves to a neighborhood in Maine, which is where like all of his stuff is from, and like they mention Derry a bunch, and it's very fun and interesting. Derry is where It is located. But they moved to this town. He is a doctor. I don't really think that has much to do with anything for the most part, in my opinion. But they move on this property that has like a pet cemetery that local kids go and bury their animals. And there's like a section beyond it that they're like told not to go to. But then one day his daughter's cat is killed on the main road that's like super scary, and his neighbor across the street, who he's become friends with, is like, bury it in this like native burial ground and we'll see what happens. Hint, hint, wink, wink. The cat comes back to life and things kind of progress from there. Other people, things die, it progresses. I will say this was not the scariest book to me. I do think the last like 3 pages were very scary. I actually couldn't really like fall asleep that night because the last like couple of lines were like not great. They were pretty spooky, but this wasn't the scariest book I'd ever read. I think I'm more interested in reading The Shining if I'm gonna read something next, because I've heard that's like the scariest for readers. I do own a couple of more that I haven't read yet, but they are quite chunky. I have 11/22/63, I have The Stand, I have Gerald's Game, and I have Needful Things. I think I'm more apt to pull Gerald's Game and Needful Things because they're shorter. The other ones are like big boys. But this is like a 3-star. It was good. It wasn't something I'd want to like pick up again, but I'm happy to have it in my collection. That's everything I read in August. We're gonna go ahead and move into my September TBR, and I'm pretty stoked about it. So this is kind of like my stack of books that like I need to read or like want to read. Not all of these are in my September TBR, but if I do happen to finish all of these, I might move on to these. My September TBR. So currently reading The House Across the Lake by Riley Sager. I'm about 60% of the way through according to Goodreads. This was chosen because I just recently joined a book club with my friends, and I got picked to be the first person to pick a book, which is both kind of exciting and both scary. I'd been wanting to read this for quite a while. I figured September, we're kind of getting into like spookier season, so I was like, let me pick a thriller. Big fan of thrillers. So again, House Across the Lake. Heard a lot of mixed things about this, but I really wanted to give it a try. Like I said, I'm 60% of the way through. I have a lot of thoughts. I'll tell you guys about those later if you care to hear. You can follow me on Goodreads though if you want to see my actual review once I finish this. I actually hope to finish this like today because I'm really excited about it. So currently reading this. The next book I think I'm going to read, like I said, I'm mid a couple of series right now. I think in July read The Summer I Turned Pretty. I kind of want to get through that series. It's only 3 books, so I'm like, let's get through them. So I do have the second one here. I love these covers. I hate movie covers. I think I've expressed that, but like they have them because the Amazon series, like they picked it up, but like this cover is so pretty. So this is It's Not Summer Without You. It's by Jenny Han. This is the second in the Summer I Turned Pretty series. It's a really easy read. The first book I think is like 200 and some pages, and it was very quick, very fast paced. It's a YA book, so it's very easy to read. I'm really into it. I really like it. I just want to keep getting through it and get through this one, and then I'm thinking if I can get through all of my September TBR, I might get the 3rd one and just finish out this series this month. But yeah, so this is on my September TBR as well. Basically it's just about Belly. She's choosing between 2 brothers essentially. They go on a summer vacation every year together with their families, and I think this one she's back at home, which is interesting. So like away from the summer house, which is where all of this stuff happens. Does that make sense? I don't know. I'll talk about this more towards the end. I also have this book, which I have seen a lot of people that I've been watching on BookTube say this is their favorite, and I'm like, well, I want to read it. This is Love in Other Words by Christina Lauren. Again, I love this cover. I purchased this off Amazon, and the cover that I purchased was totally different. I didn't love it, but I was like, I want to read this book, and then this is the cover I got, and it's so pretty. I love this. So I really don't know too much about this. I actually didn't read too much on the synopsis or anything, so I'm really excited to see where this takes me. It's a romance, and I've heard it's really good, so I'm really looking forward to it. So Love in Other Words by Christina Lauren. And then the last book on my September TBR, again, if I can get through more, let's get through more. A Court of Mist and Fury, Sarah J. Maas. This is the second in the ACOTAR series. I'm very much so looking forward to this. I've heard it's the best one, so I'm like really looking forward to it since I really enjoyed the first one. This one is quite a bit bigger. The first one, like I said, is like 400 pages. This is closer to 600, but the way I flew through the first one, I fully think I'm gonna be able to fly through this one as well. So looking forward to that. So this is my current September TBR. If I can get through 4 books a month, I'll be happy. If I can get through more, I'll be ecstatic. So that's basically it for my first ever reading video. I feel like I went into this having so much more that I wanted to say. I felt like my thoughts were a little bit more put together, and then I sat down to film and everything just goes straight out. I don't know what's happening anymore because I don't film sit down videos that much anymore, but hopefully you guys enjoyed this. I love chatting about books. I feel like my husband's getting very sick of me talking about books. I talk about them all the time, and it's hard because if you don't know what I'm talking about, like as far as the plot, it can be confusing. So I really hope that this could be a fun way for me to share my thoughts with you guys, and we can all chat about it in the comments. Obviously, do not spoil anything for anybody. We are not spoiling things. That's not okay. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Again, let me know if you'd like to see more. Go ahead and subscribe to my channel if you're not already, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye guys.